everybody's got lunch and we're raring and ready to go. My name is Christy Nolan, and I'm the Director of Growth for those of you that don't know me out here in our Fulshear office. And the goal of this particular real estate office, it is connected to our other Keller Williams Premier office. They're both interconnected. You can work in both locations and both pieces. The vision of our leadership was to have our big, large office in the center of town, and then we wanted to reach out and grow this Fulshear marketplace. The goal for our location is we wanted to have a boutique brokerage feel with all the power of Keller Williams behind it. And I think they really accomplished it with this beautiful space that they've put together for all of us. This Market Center is really geared towards all of our classes and our training, and the vision that our leadership had for it was it to be really next level real estate. So when you're at the Westheimer office, you get Ignite and you really learn the business and all the entry level pieces. Our goal out here for our training calendar and our offerings for all of you amazing agents is to give you that next step. So I had this brainchild when I was at Keller Williams International Training, and they were talking about building your own Disney and really even thinking about how to start a franchise from start to finish. And they really focused on Walt Disney and the fact that he put so much detail into every piece of planning that he had before he ever drew Mickey Mouse. I mean, he was sitting in a park thinking, wouldn't it be great to have a place where everybody could go with their children and it would be magical and wonderful? Okay, most people would think you'd stop there, right? No, like he dreamed those Disney theme parks while he was sitting there and his kids playing, like, what would make it wonderful and perfect, you know? What if you never saw somebody empty the trash cans? For those of you that have seen Disney behind the scenes, they have a whole underground system where all their service workers are working behind the scenes delivering food and changing out trash and all those particular pieces, so that when you're there, you're really enjoying, what do they call it? The happiest place on earth, right? Yeah. So while I was sitting there, I was thinking, what can we bring to you all that would be different? How can we really do that with our businesses as entrepreneurs, to really dream about our businesses in that finite detail so that we could really knock it out of the park and be the most successful? And so I thought about different pieces of successful entrepreneurs in our community that had really, really raised the bar on how things could be done. And I thought about different topics. Customer service, right? If we look at our wall, customers always come first. Who are the business leaders that really embody what we stand for at Keller Williams? And what are they really fantastic at? And so then I sat down with Naira, my assistant, and I came up with a dream list. If I could have anybody in our community come and share how they, in their own businesses as entrepreneurs, really raise the bar to the next level, who would that be? I'm really excited today that one of our speakers was one of the very first names that I came up with right off the top of my head. And you guys were also excited to have that as well. Okay, I am just super excited for our guests today. You have to understand, you guys, how special this is. He doesn't do this just for anybody. That is such a wonderful, wonderful gift. So make sure you have your notepads out, your listening ears on, because if there's a titan of business and delivering exceptional customer service, it is our guest today. And with that, I would like to give a warm, warm welcome to Mr. Rusty Wylie. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you know when you don't have a budget for speakers? I'm the guy you call. But I'm going to talk a little bit about today about me, a little bit of my journey for a few minutes, and then talk about kind of mission and purpose. So here it goes. Okay. So my name is Rusty. My wife is Amy. She actually sang in the praise team with Sheila for about a decade. And I have two kids. They're a junior and a freshman at Faith West. My daughter, who is a junior, just committed to play golf at the University of Kentucky like 2 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Congratulations.
For me, my story is I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. My dad and my two brothers are golf pros. I played college golf at Virginia Tech. I met my wife there. She's literally, it's next door. She's right next door. So, I actually think there could be some parallels between what y'all do and what I do. And in particular, I am supposed to be a golf pro. And it could be that when you're in high school or college that you didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna be a real estate agent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So some people, they kind of end up here and then they find their purpose for who they are and how they're gonna live their life and their family. So for me, I failed at golf. It hurts. I think about it a lot, but at the same time, you gotta kind of figure it out and move on. If that door is closing, let's go open another one. So, like I said, my dad and my two brothers are golf pros, and so they played at NC State and Texas A&M and Duke. So my daughter's from Kentucky, so that's cool. So, but for me, what's that?
I said, at least you passed it on.
I know, yeah, keep going, that's right. So I can do it. I can teach it, I just can't do it. So for me, coming towards the end of college there, I was kind of looking at the country that I work for. My dad's a golf professional and saying, what kind of men do I know that are 40 to 50 years old that really enjoy what they do? And there was one there that was a Chick-fil-A franchise owner. Ended up working for him and ended up out here in Houston about a year later, and we opened up our Mason Road store in 1995. So my history degree has really helped me. So I'm sure you all have some kind of degree relating to real estate. So for me, but we opened our first store in 1995, and it was just really hard. I was 23, and just trying to figure out how to do it and how to lead without a whole lot of direction. So luckily, I got married the next year and started to figure stuff out. So we opened our first store, Mason Road, in 1995. We opened our second store in Cinco Ranch, West Park in 2005, and we just opened almost 3 years ago, Greenhouse 910. So that's me also. So every 10 years, I guess. With that, yes. Oh, sorry. With that, I want to talk a little bit about Chick-fil-A and purpose, and then talk about our mission statement locally. So, Chick-fil-A's corporate purpose is to glorify God. I got 4 minutes in before I said something about Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. So, to glorify God by being a faithful steward to all that is entrusted to us and have a positive influence on everyone we come in contact with. So, that's the corporate purpose created by the home office staff, I think, in the mid to late 80s. So, for us, the 3 words for me personally are very important. I want to grow my business and serve in such a way that it would be glorifying to God. And also, I want to be a faithful steward of what's entrusted to us, because this business that I get to do, I'm not going to do forever. And it's this window that I have to maybe serve others and to kind of coach and teach young people how to work and how to have their first job. So with that, that's kind of the corporate purpose, and mine locally is a little bit different. So mine is to dominate the competition with our people, products, service, and marketing. So when I talk about this stuff, there's one word that stands out that I can get any 16-year-old to remember, is to dominate. So if we just go with that, there's the lesson for the day. So, okay, so I'm not talking about winning, I'm talking about dominating. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So if you ever, when you were a kid, or not, you ever been in a soccer game where you beat the other team 7-0? Been in a baseball game where they called the run limit?
Yep.
Been to a Katy high school football game, watched them destroy somebody like 63-0, stuff like that. So I'm not talking about winning, I'm talking about sending people home crying. So this winning stuff, whatever. Let's bury it. So and I kind of, for me, I'm kind of like, I want, let's say, a major competitor. That's their breakfast all day. So a major competitor, if they came and sat in our dining room, right? See, so they came and sat in our dining room and saw if the air food, that's our products. If they saw who worked for us and how we serve others, that's our people, and how we have not just grow our business, but how we try to position ourselves in the market. People, product, service, and marketing. I hope that person who works for a competitor serves breakfast all day. I actually hope they go home and feel bad about what they do for a living. So I'm not talking about winning. I'm talking about dominating the competition. So that's a kind of like the edge. And the other part of that, I actually so dominate is one. The other is indispensable blessing. And I actually hijacked that phrase from Jerry Edmondson, who's the pastor of Fulshear Business Center Ranch. I hijacked that from him about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And this is the part where you get into back to the purpose, but what's the why? I don't think the profit of a business is going to be something that's a bank account or a dollar. I think it's probably how we're able to bless and serve and give grace to others. So for me, what that looks like is who do we partner with, and like with Keller Williams or with Ballard House or something like that. So we don't, just like y'all, we don't have to kind of do that stuff. Chick-fil-A kind of leaves all the marketing up to us. But how can we powerfully be a lighthouse for others? So a safe harbor for kids that sometimes might not fit anywhere, but they can work for us. And also a place where we can teach some young people. Sometimes you got to get coached hard, and you know that's tough. But we want to teach young people really that it's not all about them. With the screen generation, with their phones and stuff, it's not really all about them. And if we can teach them how to serve, then we'll have gotten somewhere. So okay. So I'm going to give you an example of just a couple of things that we do. The thing is, like, how do you do it, and how do you do what you do? What does that look like? So I'm going to talk about the two-handed refill. Okay, so and the question is kind of what is your two-handed refill for your customers, for your clients, for each other, as you work together and create trusting relationships with other agents or not. No, however what that would look like for you. For us, as a side note, we're kind of known for the My Pleasure thing, right? So My Pleasure. So I will tell you that when Truett Cathy was on stage, he said, "Hey, this is like now 17 years ago. I think he's on stage, and he's the founder of Chick-fil-A. He's still kind and generous. Passed away a few years ago. But he said on stage, he's like, okay. So I just did, and he's like, I just did the Ritz-Carlton, and when I said thank you, they said my pleasure. So I want all of us and all of our teams to say my pleasure when our guests say thank you. So, rebellious spirit, I literally looked at the guy next to me. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. We're looking like idiots. So if you've ever had something, in your life where you want to push back against it, maybe just digest it for a minute before you let it marinate. So, strangely enough, people are smarter than me. So, but anyways, that's the start of our reputation for service. I think was just a phrase, but it's really based on the corporate purpose. It is our pleasure to serve. For us, and how do you do what you do? Is a lot of people ask me that. We do it very carefully. We do it on purpose. We're looking for kids who can help us with the mission, dominate the competition, and we want to be able to be an indispensable blessing to others. So, for us, the two-handed refill is like a little bit of practice for me, and we don't have it yet, but I've been working on it for like 2 years. Like Truett Cathy, it's my pleasure. So, if I'm getting less a refill. Normally, I just, take an order, he comes up to the counter, and I give him a refill, right? So what I'm trying to get our team members to do is to hold it with both hands, and when you give it to them. And so let me ask you, like, what do you hold with two hands? Maybe. That's good. So I did this one time, and someone said a bottle of champagne. Really? As a high school student, I'm like, well, technically yes. And why do we hold babies with two hands? Right, care, don't want to drop them. I think I always held my kids kind of in a headlock, a little bit of a headlock. So, tough. So, but it's a precious thing. If I just give you a refill, this is a transaction, right? It's just a transaction. It's just something, and here you go, I'm just giving you what you need. But if you hold it with two hands, first of all, if you hold it with two hands, you got to kind of square up. You got to look at them, because you're not going to do that. So you got to look at them, square up. Now it's different. I'm not just giving you something that you want. I'm giving you something maybe that you need. Because I kind of think it's Chick-fil-A. Closed on Sundays. It's my pleasure. But when we do that, I want the customer to know this is something that's important to me. It's precious to me. With what I'm giving you. So, and it's Chick-fil-A too. It's like it's an expression of service to another. And I say it's Chick-fil-A. It's like Jesus in a cup right there. And when you hold Jesus in a cup with two hands, I mean, come on. So
lemonade.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so be careful with Jesus in the cup. Okay, so that's
my beer.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of the that's our two-handed refill. But I think if we all told stories, our stories to each other about maybe how we became entrepreneurs and real estate agents. I think that there's probably a thread, not for everybody maybe, but there's probably a common thread. There's probably some heartbreak in there. There's probably some failure. And at some point you find some purpose and meaning to what you do. You're not selling houses. I mean, you're selling the dream.
Right.
I remember Courtney Holmes, who works for me, she was buying a house north of the interstate. I don't remember the name of it, but she's like, Taylor needs a yard. That's why I'm buying a house. And so for me, it's not really, you're not selling a house. You know, you're really helping someone change the lives of their kids forever. So the entrepreneur thing that all of us in this room do, I think is not the easiest thing to do. I think you have to, there's shortcuts that you can take to kind of get where, you can take shortcuts. But for me, I'm so thankful for the hardship and the failure to try to figure this thing out. So that's pretty much it.
Great.
So when they told me, it's like, Russ, you got 30, 40 minutes to speak, I was like I could fit all my stuff on like this little sheet of paper. I don't have that much material. So it's really not that interesting. I know that everyone wants a speaker to talk for 40 minutes, I'm sure. No. So if you guys have any questions for me, I would be glad to answer those.
When they bring back coleslaw?
It is, I like coleslaw. We used to have potato salad. Yeah. We used to have all kinds of stuff. So, but they say that as they go through, there are certain numbers that if you don't hit a certain percentage of the menu for that item, they take it off the menu. But in the South, we were kind of selling a lot of it.
Yeah.
And those heathens in the North messed up all the numbers.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the, my wife's from New York, sorry. So, but that's kind of they've eliminated from the menu permanently. And they'll probably eliminate a couple other things. Like I heard that maybe in a year and a half, the regular strips will be gone and there'll be spicy strips.
Oh, really?
They're supposed to be great. And they can mess around with spicy nuggets forever. They can't figure out how to get the consistency.
Yeah.
And basically what is a slice of chicken.
Well, they
you
can't get
right.
rid of the strips because that's what I like. I don't like the spicy.
Yes. And I think we need to have spicy strips to make sure that we compete with, PDQ and Raising Cane's and people like that. We need to have the products and the flavors that people like. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So you said you opened in 2005, and I
Yes.
remember that on Cinco Ranch because that's
Yeah.
when my firstborn was born.
All right.
We've been going there ever since.
Yes.
So for 13 years, she's 13 years old. Consistently good customer service, like every time we go.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you ensure that consistency with these kids that you? How are you teaching them to do that?
Yeah,
Besides
so
the two mottos that you teach.
It's definitely, you have to do it on purpose. You can't just fall into being good over extended period of time and stuff. So like some of that stuff that we do is we got to where we're doing interviews and just pulling whatever. So we started doing open interviews to see how kids would, in a room of, last June, we had 70 kids show up for open interviews. We're only hiring like 5 people.
Wow.
But we hired 10. But, but we got in there and we're like, how are they going to interact, with other young people? They have to solve a problem, tell a story about someone at the table, and kind of present those ideas to us. And we make a chart and we start starring people.
Right.
So we take our time doing it. It's hard sometimes because I have not hired some friends of mine's kids because they're not ready. So
They're not service minded.
yeah, or they just don't have the skill set. So my daughter is 15 and she's kind of Asperger's, autistic. Her name's Kayla. She goes to Big West, but you wouldn't really know unless you're really around her. But she doesn't reach. She's like classically, you wouldn't really know. And then all of a sudden, you're kind of like, she doesn't really look people in the eye very much. She doesn't really have a filter. And for her to really serve and not say, we don't have that today. She might say it in that tone, so she can't. She literally probably can't do it. So it's hard sometimes, but and there are kids that can be so they need a cubicle. I mean, I don't know. They need a cubicle.
It's not their gift.
We used to call them kitchen trolls. So yeah, go work in the kitchen. I got a spot for you. Can't smile. Go work in the kitchen. So I started in the kitchen by the way. So true story. Stop talking. Okay, so we start with that, and then we think that feedback is the breakfast of champions. Okay, so that's where through their training. They have the orientation, they have feedback, training is used a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. They have feedback, 45 days, they have feedback. Quarterly, we bring everybody in and split up into groups, and where we talk about, go back to the basics, two-handed refill, my pleasure, the language of hospitality. We don't want someone on headsets, you just gotta teach them, is that it? Like, I don't wanna hear that, that sounds rude, is that it? So we're trying to really teach those things and kids need more and more of it, and to be reminded of it consistently of how to interact. For me, it wasn't super hard, just because I grew up at a country club, and if I didn't do it right with the members, I mean, my dad's gonna hear about it from basically his bosses, and it's gonna be an issue at home, so, yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
But
it starts with selection.
Definitely. If you select it, it's like teaching a tennis player how to play ping pong. They kind of already got it. They can do it. We just have to show it to them our way. So, yeah. And then it's incumbent on the kids that that have been there a little bit longer to leave a legacy of that too. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
old do kids need to be to work? Just like,
The federal law is actually 14, but there's the 14, 15-year-olds. There's so many things that they can and can't do.
right.
They can't work past 7 during the school year. They can't work more than 18 hours a week. Can't get a ladder. Can't go in the cooler. Can't unload the truck. Can't go in the freezer. Can't use the mixer. Can't clean the restaurant. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people they go straight to 16. We usually have a couple of 15-year-olds that work for us. I had one girl two that became general managers that I hired at 15. And so I have one that he started at 15. He's a franchise owner in Utah. So he's a good kid. So I do tend to hire 15-year-olds. Most places
Yeah, that's
they don't.
wonderful to hear because whenever I was 15, I prayed, I couldn't wait for the day that I could work.
Yes.
And when the day I turned 15, and I have a 15 and a 14-year-old, and I'm just flabbergasted that they have no work experience yet because no one will hire them.
Yeah, and they can get some experience, which is good for their resume if they serve at a kids' church or if they volunteer, absolutely volunteer work. If they're in a service organization at high school, we look for that. There's a list of things that we look for in young leaders too. The first two are attitude and work ethic, but competitive is also on the list. People wouldn't think that, but if you're going to dominate, you can't keep messing around with that. So that's part of it. So, but we got to be fast. It's a business, and if you can measure something, keep score, make it a game. People play the game because people like to win. So that's kind of what we look at. So, yes, ma'am.
Most of the operators, I think, just have one Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
You have 3. What would you say you did that set you apart for that?
I don't know. I don't know. So I think a couple of things. When we opened Mason Road, people didn't know how to say Chick-fil-A. We were the 3rd freestander in Houston. There's 80 something now. There's 80. Next week there's one open near Asset. So there's 83 or something like that starting next week. We're going to build 14 this year. So I was in on the really early end.
14 in Houston this year.
14 in Houston this year, or Greater Houston. Which is Conroe.
Right.
Yeah. For me, that is totally. It has to be grace because I was really young. I was 23 too, so I just kind of a little bit locked into this thing. And I'm in there in the interview with Tina Turner, and I'm talking about hey, I've done like 7 interviews, and I'm 20. I was 23, and I'm like, I've had enough. Basically, I've had enough of these questions today, and so I'm like, well, so what do you think? I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, well, I think you're too young and experienced. So I think you're wrong. And she just kind of goes, give me one of those. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's also with the right work ethic and attitude, and creating a mindset of growth and keeping after it. Sometimes progress really looks like a waste of time. It really, you're growing, but you're not feeling it, But for us, it's really staying after it. A lot of people look at last year's sales, or 2 years ago, they'll say, look how much we've grown. I'm looking at like the last 4 weeks. I'm trying to move the needle in a month, not necessarily.
Evaluate all.
Yeah, and it's you can get to a position where you're so busy patting yourself on your back and how great you are that that you become complacent. And I think in business, complacency is really an enemy. So God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So, and that for me, I had someone put that verse in front of me. I was like, that's pretty good right there. Let's stay humble. Let's stay humble and hungry. I think there's a book called Stay Rookie, and I think that's a good one after doing this for 20 years for us to read. So, but for me, it was like, you got to have results, and but you also have to have the right relationships. So there's like this. Let's say it's a scale. And if we get too results focused, I think our relationships can stop. And the opposite is true. If we're so focused on relationships and we're not really holding people accountable and driving results, then that can get off of kilter too. So for us, moving up in the organization is if you can drive results and be people focused and drive results, gifted with people and drive results, and so that's over time. We think that is a winning formula. Yes, sir.
I think another kind of adding to help her answer your question. I remember you just had Mason run the store.
Yep.
And I know some of the history with Chick-fil-A, and they really want the operators to be involved in the community. I mean, that's a big deal, and they'll give y'all, say, your goal should be man of the year at Katy.
Right.
I mean, they challenge them.
Yeah.
And I remember, at Second Baptist,
Yep.
Wednesday night, you were delivering food. You brought food in.
Yep.
You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's that stuff. Let's model
Don't
who.
ever get big enough
Yeah.
to do the little thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Not that you do that now,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you still probably selectively saying, hey, Courtney may say, hey, Rusty, you need to show up at this meeting.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I kind of got to do what she says now. So for sure. Definitely. Really. No. So,
That has an impact.
yeah, and I think if we just model the things that we want others to do. I think if you're an authentic leader, if you're lead with confident humility, and that's people understand that you're authentic and you're trying to do it. So my history degree, I actually want to be a history teacher, and I figured out a couple years through college that if I had kids like me in my class, I would probably murder them. So, I didn't want to go to prison, so I got to find something else to do. So, my dad had told me and my two brothers, here's the deal: you're going to graduate in 4 years, and if you graduate in more than 4 years, you don't get to just pay for the 5th year; you get all of them. And so it's kind of like just tell people the score of the game, and they'll complete the race. So, and for us, I got halfway through college. I probably need to switch into marketing. But I couldn't graduate 4 years, so I had a minor in economics because I could kind of get that to show employers that hey, I can actually do math. So yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So when you opened your first one, I'm guessing that you had like this vision of, okay, we're gonna have excellent customer service, but then there's also the thing of we're gonna have speed, but yet you still have to have accuracy because you don't want people getting home and they don't have what they ordered. So did you focus on all of those things at the same time, or did you kind of prioritize of, okay, this is what we're going to start with and then go and grow outwards? How did that?
Yeah, like John Wooden would say, be quick but don't hurry. He's probably the greatest coach of all time, despite people that like Patriots. So it's true. So anyways, okay, so back to the question. So I think we know that we feel like guests look for a certain number of things when they come to the restaurant. And I think that clients look for certain things that have to be done with y'all and your clients as well. Ours is the food has to taste good. It has to be clean. It can't be killing people. So it's taste and clean, attentive and courteous service. We gotta be, and we gotta be fast. So those are kind of 4. And the 5th one was Chick-fil-A. We need to be talking about it more, is order accuracy. Hey, it was fast. She was so nice. My pleasure. Love you. Awesome. My food's wrong. I got an 8-year-old who's crying. So it's we have to have all of those things. For me, in the restaurants is nothing happens up front without the kitchen. And those guys and girls that do that every day, and most of them don't speak English. That is the lifeblood of my restaurants. And if you don't treat them with respect, you're not going to get your food, and you're not going to have satisfied guests. You're just not going to have any of that, and they're certainly not going to try to help you grow. Our first year in sales in 1996, first full year, we did less than $1 million in sales, and so that is in February of that year, we did $70,327 in sales for an entire month. And that, we will probably do that today in the 3 restaurants. So it's almost like, but all of that starts with the kitchen. You know, if you have a great relationship in the kitchen and they're doing great work, it just it sets the stage for everything. So, yeah. But for me, that was first. And second is, of course, we got to get the front line, you know, front of house people trained and the right people. You have to get the right people in the right seats on the bus. You know, and if they aren't, they don't know the language of hospitality because of how they grew up or who their parents were, that's fine. We have a place where you're like, look, you can work in the kitchen, or like, we can find a spot for you. You can do drinks in the drive-thru and stuff like that. You could still work here, but not necessarily right in front of a guest, interacting with them. And you guys have been in there. When we don't get it right, I mean, it stands out. You know, it'll stand out. But when lots of times we'll have, you know, really good kids. So hopefully that's good. Yes, ma'am.
Was owning 3 a goal for you, or was it just an opportunity that presented itself?
So I, about 5 years in, I thought it'd be really fun to run 2. And Chick-fil-A, we call it street stores freestanders. And so it was never an option to run 3 freestanders because they didn't do it. So there were about 10 guys that had 3 stores, but one was always a mall because we always started in the mall. So you could see guys get 2 stores because they had the mall and they put one right outside the mall. And they wouldn't want to hurt that guy, so they just give him both.
Yeah.
And so there was maybe 10 or 12 guys that had 3. For me, that really wasn't the goal. It was actually, honestly, kind of protecting my area. We can build one 3 miles away. You know, if your sales are going to go down 20%, no, I want it. So, and I think, you know, you want to be challenged and you want to have a job or a goal that's hard enough to have your complete attention. Like, we got to do this. You know, so when it's hard is good. And this is like a lesson for young people too. They associate hard with bad. Hard is good because that's where the growth happens. It could be whether yeah. So I mean, hard is good. And so a guy who a website. If you have teenagers, there's a website called Growing Leaders. That's the curriculum that we use when we do leadership things for teenagers. That's Growing Leaders. The author there is Dr. Tim Elmore. And that's a guy that he does a lot of stuff with millennials, and a lot of it's picture based, but stuff that you can remember, and that your kids can kind of, you can have a discussion and not make it awkward. And they can almost teach themselves stuff too, so it's good.
Just for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
The one on Westheimer?
Yes, in front of in Single Ranch in front of Target.
Yeah. So the little space directly across the street, I'm convinced you could put one right there if you could make it fit on that little plot of land, and it would still be busy.
It's the craziest.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, because I have such funny stories about that store. I really can't tell them. Some are horrible. But the piece of property is just, frankly, it's just not big enough. That Single Ranch store actually was our slowest store out of the 3 last year. It's just, it is so small, and like you can't get out, you can't get in. We put the cones up, by the way, you know, that made us about 18% faster, but people are pissed about the cones.
Oh my goodness, but they needed to go up.
And they're yelling at me back. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You're an idiot. Okay.
No, they're ready.
Thank you for that.
You're making us turn right. First world problems.
Right?
Drive around the block. I don't know.
I'm just
Take the Senate route.
I'm just waiting at a point in time where Chick-fil-A has to consult with local Department of Safety to open their store. My God, you go during lunchtime or dinner time, and Westheimer Parkway is shut down.
Yeah. We're like 7 years in, or 7 years away from probably like a scrape and rebuild where they knock the building down and build it new one. And I've already told them, like, you guys got to we need 40 more yards back to Pioneer and reroute the whole strip center. We need 40 more yards to get people off the street, because that's not okay. There's certainly nothing that we can do because
Sonic doesn't let
Well, you
me
want to
tell
go
you.
right lane?
Yeah, and
not Chick-fil-A lane, you stay on the left lane.
yeah, and we have police officers, and we feed them for free all day long. It's good to have guys with guns around. But it's like through security. So, but I asked him, was like, what do we do? You know, let me just go out here and help. He's like, you're not directing traffic. You're gonna get arrested if you try to do that. Like, you're not going out there to help anything. You can go faster. No, but that's basically, you know, we have to actually start now talking to like Target or whoever owns the strip center.
It's like that. Like there's one in Lafayette, Louisiana, and it's right off of Ambassador Caffrey. right?
Yeah, that's John Arden's store. He has 3 stores.
So busy.
Yeah,
It is
recently.
so busy, and it's so busy.
Yeah.
He must own the one in the mall.
Yes, and then there's Ambassador Cafe, and I don't remember
There's
the name
one
of
off
it.
of, I know where the
Yeah.
one is.
Great guy.
So Rusty, one of the things that really stood out to me, and we really try to work with our agents as business owners, is you were able just off the top of your head to tell us exactly what your numbers were
Right.
when you started your business
Yes.
years ago.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have to stop and pause and think about it. You
Right.
didn't have to. I mean, you were able to tell us exactly what those numbers are. We're really, really trying to work with our agents
Mhm.
to really focus on what your numbers are. In fact, we provide them all their numbers. How important is that to you and your success?
So actually, there's a guy at Chick-fil-A, Mark Miller. He did an experiment. He took. It's a really mean experiment too. He took like 10 mean. It's mean. I think it's mean. So he took like 10, 20-year-olds and they went to the bowling alley, and they shut off all the scorekeeper stuff. So it didn't keep score. It just bowled. And after about half an hour, like no one knows what the score is, and they're getting frustrated.
Nobody.
Like no one knows who's winning. So to me there should be some kind of score. You don't have to measure everything, but there's probably some key metrics in there to look at or to glance at daily or weekly, or there's probably something to look at every day.
Yes.
For me, did the money go to the bank?
Right.
Money went to the bank, right?
Right.
You're $700 short today. So like stuff like that. That would be a daily. A weekly would be a daily would be number of cars in the drive-thru. So I give you an example of that. So for us to be fast, we want to dominate the competition. Well, how are you going to dominate the competition if you have only your score and not their score? So we have a list of every Chick-fil-A in the country, and it's rolling 28-day average. We know how many cars Keith Singletary in Maryland did is average over the last 28 days. So we can keep scores. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And Chick-fil-A has this for us. But that's not good enough because I'm not actually competing with Keith. I'm not competing against Keith. It's a difference between competing against someone and competing with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go fast, run alone. If you want to go far, run together.
Right.
And so I went and counted cars at McDonald's. Just sat back there and counted how many cars they did.
Okay.
So one morning, they did 90 cars. That same morning, we did 90 cars. That's not dominating the competition. We've got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So in Starbucks, I went and counted 65 cars during breakfast. That's pretty good. Those are 2 biggest competitors that we have for breakfast. Absolutely. And they both do a great job for breakfast. But not all that. So, and we went and counted during lunch, and during lunch, we can hit a good number. We've done 200 cars a couple of times in 1 hour. That's a lot. So, that's pretty well. So, yeah, but we want to keep score and compete with each other, not against each other. You might have, I don't know how it works, like different offices in Keller Williams, you want to compete, You've got some guys that have been around a long time, individual agents in Keller Williams and Remax, and it's awful hard to compete with them. I mean, it's got to be a fair playing field too. We want to be first and best in class, and we want to try to run down the big dogs. So,
Right.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So one of the things I actually love that you brought the God piece into it, because Keller Williams' motto is God, family, and then business.
Didn't know that.
And the restaurant business is notorious for chewing families up, chewing people up,
Mhm.
and all those particular pieces,
Yep.
especially in this day and age where you're talking about everything has to be faster, faster, faster.
Yep.
I'm sure you hear all the time, because I hear it from my own kids, why can't I get Chick-fil-A on Sunday? I really like on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because when you crave it the most, you always crave it on Sundays. You all have really been open and forward about your
Yeah.
focus on God, family, business.
Mhm.
But even being closed on Sundays, that's probably not enough for you
Mhm.
as a major franchisee. How do you balance everything?
For me, is to try to create an organization that is deep enough in talent to where that I can walk away, and then just having I make like on my calendar say something like play golf with Kelsey today. Just want to play 9 holes, but go do something with her. Take Kayla to get ice cream or something like that. So it's just I try to keep a calendar like that kind of keeps me squared away. And I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, we're not going, man, I wish we'd just sold a little more chicken. But it'll be about, I wish we had more time together. So one, I get it, one facilitates the other. And there's great purpose in that, because we are we're stewards of what we've been blessed with. But at the same time, you can just balance that out. For me, I have to be willing to say no. So, and just kind of set some boundaries there too. There's that book called Boundaries by,
Councilman McLeod.
that's, yeah, yep, Intercloud, yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, okay, so questions?
In our realm, I mean, we have level 7 operator. I mean,
Yeah.
He's level
that's-
50.
no, but he literally can walk away
level
because he's got people in place.
But I
He can
think,
do what he wants to do.
But he pays them. I mean, he pays them, and I know this for a fact.
Yeah.
More than market, way more than any other operators. He is,
well, it's,
You hire talent, pay them well.
and
I
he
think
promotes them to go lead. He had 2 high-level managers go
Okay.
off to corporate.
Yeah.
Just
In-
think
in
about
August.
2 big holes all of a sudden. He goes, I got it. I'll just backfill,
yeah,
train, and add double people.
yeah, if you,
So,
I think
and
that
it all comes out of his pocket.
And I think there's great value, like, in having actually done the work.
Sure.
From a team member, it could be that maybe a few of y'all started, I don't know if you're an apprentice to an agent, or I don't really know how that works, but I know a couple people that are now agents, and they were just kind of helping maybe a bigger agent with maybe too much work. So bringing them alongside you to learn is really good. So, yeah.
How do you recognize your employees? Because restaurant business has a high turnover rate.
Yeah.
Real estate has a very high turnover rate because you said the work is hard.
Yeah.
How do you incentivize your employees?
I think so it's important for the Chick-fil-A operator to be present, and so if you know somebody in the restaurant business who's never there, they're probably not very good.
Right.
And so I don't know. I go to work every day, and I don't know all the names, but I try to know the names, and just every day it's like I try to have fun with them. If it's not fun, you're not doing it right. So I love working with that age group. That's why I want to be a history teacher. Is that age group of 16 to 22 is really fun for me and for us, or for me, if you go to a restaurant, everything's going good. That's fine. You leave there, you can go find a problem. Like I can find a problem somewhere. So like every day, there's different people on staff at all 3 restaurants, and so there's no day that's the same. So which is fun. So you could have a big catering day. You could have a day where you're shorthanded. You could have a day where spicy breakfast fillets aren't delivered, which was last night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got to go figure that out at 6 o'clock this morning. So, just kind of like removing barriers for them to performance, and then just trying to encourage them, knowing that you have literally stood in those shoes before is good too. So,
Because there has to be a point where you hit a ceiling,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And you, like, I can't break through,
Yeah.
and I'm, killing myself.
yeah.
So,
That's actually, honestly, I haven't really talked to my wife about this, but like that's actually kind of now for me.
yeah, I
And
figured.
it's, as they build restaurants around you, there's going to be some impact. And where the growth in Katy is not necessarily, well, Greenhouse is going to be pretty good for years in that growth. But Cinco Ranch, I mean, the Pin Oak location, that's basically the same road.
Right.
On one side, Mason Road is north of there. So you end up kind of boxed in. And so with that, it a little bit comes back to stewardship and appreciating what we do have. So I want to drive results, and sometimes that sales result is really hard to move. I bet it was really hard to move that needle. Maybe in 2009 in real estate. Maybe not in Katy, but like most places, it's pretty tough. But for us, we want to be faithful in the small things, which lead to bigger things. And so we want to make sure that we appreciate we manage our resources. And the mission state, the corporate purpose doesn't have the word chicken or sales or profit in it. It doesn't. And the mission, if we're dominating the competition, we do want to grow, but at the same time, sometimes growing is just different. It's not
funny you
it's
say
not
that.
measured in dollars.
We want to dominate the market,
Yes.
run rule them,
Yep.
and love them like Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's the thing where I gotta have indispensable blessing in there somewhere. So yeah, but that's it's enabled us to create opportunities for other leaders to move on,
Sure.
to move up, and to get their own restaurants, or to there's 6 Chick-fil-A's here in Katy now. That's ridiculous. I mean, we only had one for 10 years. I mean, I was like had the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
Mason Road.
I have to share now. It's horrible.
And your kid, the guys running the, that are working there, I mean, I have to hand it to you. Now, I can get my own kids to act like that, and you've got, every kid in the store
Yeah.
is service oriented.
Yeah, I think the best leaders kind of become these ambassadors. Like, what would Rusty do? Bracelets.
What would Rusty do?
No. I'm gonna get a car right away on that. That's we want to, I think they become ambassadors and trying to encourage and develop those young people.
Yeah,
because everyone who's a leader, they had to do that too.
Sure.
In the customer is like just a little bit crazy or whatever. Like we've all had to do that. So yeah. Yep.
All right, I have one last question
Yes,
for you. It's something that we as realtors struggle with quite a bit in balancing our budgets and our business. And it's something that you've built your business model on, which is service through the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you get inundated with requests
Yes.
for, can you sponsor, can you help, can you do? And we have the same charges that we want to accomplish as much of that as we can, but we
Yes.
also want to dominate. How do you balance that with your budget?
I have to tell you, it's a really, really hard because I want to say yes.
Mhm.
Like I want to figure it out. And so I try to find it. What I do is a little bit different from what y'all do. I can kind of find a yes because if I can't come to your event, I could give you, some digital offer cards for the people that are at your event. We hand those out. There you go. So we can, for us, it's probably easier to find some kind of yes. And I have Wendy Reinwald is our marketing director for the 3 restaurants. And so as one of the primary leaders, like her job is to help me around budgets of marketing and stuff like that. And she's better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's more creative, a strategic thinker, and she understands sometimes, Rusty, the answer actually is we're too big or we're too busy. We just can't do it.
Right.
And so she's really, really good at that. We have there's 290 team members is how many we have. So, but she's one of the ones that will balance that out for me. So, because I'll just totally want to do it.
Right.
Rusty's just going around the line.
Yeah, and they're like, one's like, we do have 2 other events that day. Well, we don't have those out. Are you gonna do it?
Right.
So that's, but she does a great job at that.
So you really said, hey, I know that my big heart could be my weakness in my budget, so I'm going to go get the right talent
Yeah,
to put me in place
Yes.
in terms of those particular
that's
pieces.
right.
So we have to do that too, so that's awesome.
She's a planner.
Uh-huh.
Crazy. And so I'll give you, she literally has every family night planned out for all of 2018. It's already done. Like it's
Right.
done. It's like, she has these, those desk calendars.
I don't know anyone like that.
There's 12 of them. 12 of them on the wall, and they're color coded. Like they're color coded, like with the different restaurants and all the events. It's already done for the year.
My team is laughing as you're saying this.
And me,
No, and her saying that she doesn't know anyone like that.
yes, and like so this is my move. I actually did this a couple years ago. This is one of the last times I did. It's like, you know what we should do? Family night next week. Let's cancel that. Let's do Dora the Explorer. Dora the Explorer is coming to Family Night St. Convention. 300 people showed up,
Oh,
Right?
and it was awful. And the person in the suit, she came. She was angry. I don't know. It wasn't good. So just yeah, she was angry. So
How could you be an explorer anyway? She's got a map.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
really an explorer.
You map, backpack, all that stuff. So yeah, but just someone to help. There's different skills there, like someone who's more planful, someone who's more structured, and someone who doesn't like, hey, look, a squirrel. That's me. So I need someone else to just kind of help me with that. So call between us.
So something that you've alluded to several times, it really helps when you know your weaknesses and admit them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
Because that's big for us, because we all have kind of egos and say, oh, I can do that.
I can do that, and like
I can do that better than anybody.
Yeah.
And
I could see your wife. I don't know. Not creative.
No, that's the truth.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So it starts to feel kind of funky if you're outside of your outside of your natural gifts. So for me, like all the math and metric, I can do it. I don't really like it, but I can do it. So I can do it, but it's not fun.
Right.
But someone thinks that stuff is fun. That's crazy to me. So yeah, I love cubicles. What? So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Can I ask you a personal question
Yep.
about your Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
So my son-in-law, he's 30 years old.
Uh-huh.
He was wanting to start his own Chick-fil-A business. He made it through the first
round
round.
one,
And then he made it to the next
nice,
round.
like, that's the one that.
Yeah, and then he was waiting to hear, and then they got turned down.
Oh.
It just, I mean, let the air out of the balloon.
Yeah.
And so I encourage him, keep trying.
Yes.
Keep at it. Learn
Mhm.
what happened. So, I mean, what advice could
They-
I take home to him?
They get about 20,000 applications a year,
Yeah.
and they select about 125.
Yeah.
So it's like getting Harvard. You know, it's like you can't even be done. But for me, I would the guys that I've seen get through, they have experience on the resume in leading others, running budgets, driving results. They for college degrees.
Yes.
They might even, like one of the last guys, he's a regional director for Young Brands, which is Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, like some others. Really, really good guy. Actually, was a kid. He bought that house for me, Courtney's house.
Oh, that's the same guy.
Same guy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, John. He's a Chick-fil-A operator. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know.
But
And that's the worst.
but anyways, he ended up working at a Chick-fil-A about once a week for like a year to kind of learn the business and to show them I'm not messing around with this. I'm not letting go. So there's some stick-to-itiveness there that this guy that John Paul had. So other things.
Great advice.
So he was
Yeah.
turned down initially?
It just took a long time. It probably took it 2.5 years for him to kind of get through the whole process. So, and he has the store at 45 across diversion. So I would not necessarily want that location. So he had to start a location that it's actually a dangerous area. 45 across diversion. It's a great place to get shot. So
Yeah.
that's I mean it just is. So but it's he had to take a different type of location. I was only supposed to be here for 2 weeks. I'm from Tennessee. That's 22 years. I'm still here. Like I had a return ticket and everything. I'm still here. But this is where the opportunity was. If you want to in South Dakota, they don't have a whole lot of people asking for that. So the Houston market is our.
He moved here from North Dakota and said, we
Never
need to
again.
give that state back to Canada.
No doubt. They just built a store up there. It's busy.
Yeah.
North Dakota, crazy. But sometimes you have to go where the opportunity is. The opportunity is much more difficult here in Houston than it is in. Nobody at one point wanted to go to California. Now
He was
stores are
actually
good.
looking at moving to,
Yeah.
wherever they
Yeah.
wanted to.
Casting the big wide net
Yeah.
is really good.
That's what he was wanting to do.
Yeah.
He was willing to do that.
Yeah.
you know.
Courtney, who has worked for me for 18 years, she has a very small net. She has a son with some physical issues, and he got to go to the hospital and doctors and stuff all the time. So she needs a store where Texas Children's Hospital is,
Sure.
and that's Houston, Texas. So it's taken her for years. It's taken her years, and she's still not in. So hopefully this year. So yeah, it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah. Y'all, thanks for having me. So
I
this
learned
is.
so much from you.
I'm so glad.